Another day and more drama in Jefferson City regarding the future of the Chiefs and the Royals. Good morning. Glad you're here at 6:05 on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM. And as always, we are streaming on your Alexa, on your Google Home, and on the KCMO Talk Radio app. So we'll tell you what's actually happening. We're not going to do the old sports media speculation thing, talk to one person who doesn't know anything about up or down, left or right, and then tell you that a deal is finalized at the old Sprint Center campus. Trust me, we're not going to do that. We're not going to be irresponsible with our reporting. We'll share with you exactly what we know and where this thing stands right now. So you probably have seen the screaming headlines on local news, Kansas City Star, and elsewhere, that the Missouri House passed a stadium funding amendment similar to the Kansas Star bonds. That's what I saw, at least on Woke 41. And the headline makes you think that something's going to happen. That's not necessarily true. I'll get to the details here in a second, but basically what happened last night is the Missouri Senate did not pass this. The Missouri Senate just let this be. And what needs to happen, obviously, is for this deal to get through for the Chiefs and the Royals, the Missouri Senate needs to pass it to then get it to Governor Kehoe's desk. And this all has to be done by Friday at 6 p.m. That's when everything has to be finished up in Jefferson City. So they've got basically a 48-hour window here to figure out how to get this funding passed for the Chiefs and the Royals. Now, it did pass the House yesterday. That is true. And it passed pretty overwhelmingly. Over 100 yes votes and about 40 nays. What exactly was in this bill? Well, essentially what it does is it gives the teams the potential to recoup the sales tax monies that come from the stadium up to $50 million that would be split between the Royals and the Chiefs. So you're looking at, give or take, $25 million, and that would be over up to 30 years. So it's a lot of money. It's about the same amount of money they would have gotten if the 3/8 cent sales tax would have passed in Jackson County last year. That was about $2 billion over 40 years. So it's a similar number to that for the Chiefs and the Royals. It's not, the thing that's going to make or break this deal. It's not going to fund an entire stadium. Remember, the Royals' initial ask was for $1 billion. This is not that. This is maybe $400 million is what this is. That the Chiefs and the Royals would be able to recoup on sales tax revenues at the stadium. But let's be honest. This is largely state funding of these stadiums because there is no way the math is going to work to generate that kind of sales tax revenues off of these stadiums. There's just not enough action going on out there to generate that kind of revenue. I have heard some thoughts that it might include potentially state income tax revenues from the players at the stadiums when they're playing their games there. I don't know if that's the case either way. I'm just saying part of this is clearly a direct subsidy from the state to the teams. That's what's on the table right now. And it did pass the House yesterday. Governor Kehoe had a big meeting yesterday morning with the Republican caucus, and this could be used for the teams anywhere in Missouri. That's more important to the Royals, where the Royals could use this if they want to stay in Jackson County or if they want to go up to Clay County. Obviously, the Chiefs, the state of Missouri wants them to stay where they are at the Truman Sports Complex. There's an important clawback in this deal as well. That said, if these teams left Missouri at any point before the debt is paid off, the teams will owe every last dollar back to the state of Missouri. So this would make it so that basically the teams could not bounce from the state of Missouri, could not try to leverage the state of Missouri in, say, 10, 15, 20 years if they want to build a new stadium or go somewhere else. They cannot use that threat against the state of Missouri until every last dollar is paid off on the debt. On top of that, something else that came up here is why the Senate wouldn't pass this last night. And this is the kind of information that, there's no way you'll get it from a sports radio station in this town, but here's what we know. There is major infighting right now between the Missouri Senate and the Missouri House. The Missouri Senate is pissed off at the Missouri House, specifically its leadership. And that includes Speaker of the House, John Patterson, who's from Lee's Summit. Why? What is it all about? I'm going to try to do this without getting too much into the weeds, because when I was talking to people yesterday, I was, asking a million questions about this. But basically, it's about another bill. House Bill 19. That was essentially a $500 million infrastructure bill that would have helped every corner of this state. And the Missouri House side held this up. Passed the House, passed the Senate. They made their tweaks back to the House. And the House now is not taking it up. They're not doing anything with it. And I won't get, even I admit, some of the behind the scenes on this stuff is a little hairy. It's even for the, I don't live and breathe this stuff in Jeff City or Topeka. I just don't. I know enough to obviously share with you, and it's a big story on a given day. We'll get you all the information that you need. But I don't sit there. Someone texted me as a total sidebar a couple of days ago. Someone I like. I mean, I'm cool. We're buddies. They're like, man, are you watching this debate on the House floor in Jeff City? I'm like, I'd rather gouge my eyes out, okay? I had multiple people text me that yesterday and 2 days ago about this Chiefs-Royals stuff. And I'm like, no, kill me. I'm not watching these people debate on the House floor in Jeff City. If I have time for that, I'm going home. I'm going to hang out with my kids. Okay, trust me, when it matters, when it's important, I'll find out about it and I'll report it back to you and opine on it. But I don't sit there and say, it's time for my daily stream of the Jefferson City floor debate right now. Hard pass. So anyway, this House Bill 19, that is basically a $500 million infrastructure plan, was not approved yesterday and passed by the House. And there are infighting reasons behind that. That has ticked off the Missouri Senate. The Missouri Senate is not going to go out there and pass funding for the Chiefs and the Royals at a time when the Senate felt it got insulted by the Missouri House because the House didn't pass this $500 million in infrastructure. And if you are a Republican in Missouri from, let's say, Southeast Missouri, and you're trying to get crime labs and you're trying to get infrastructure projects done, and the House is holding that up, and then the House comes to you and says, hey, can you get a few $100 million for the sports teams in Kansas City? What are you going to do? You're going to tell them to pound sand, especially when the Speaker of the House, of course, is from the Kansas City area, right here in Lee's Summit. And it's like, dude, you can't get our infrastructure deal done. You can't get that passed. And now you want us to pass hundreds of millions of dollars for sports teams? You got to be kidding me. That's what they're saying right now in Jeff City on the Senate side.
Well, you got to strike while the iron's hot. If you look up Arrowhead on Zillow, it's listed as a fixer-upper right now because of the construction out there. So, a little cheaper on the market.
Trying to get a little deal, right?
Yeah. Strike while the iron's hot.
Well, this was something, too, to use John's phrase, strike while the iron is hot. This came together really fast over the last 24 to 48 hours. And most Missourians are not going to be wild about this idea of basically funding sports stadiums. But if they got it done really quickly at the end of session, it would have happened, and there would not have been a lot of time for outrage. And that's why I think this thing came up as late as it did in the process. So now we just sit here and we wait. It's a waiting game. Will the Senate take up the bill to approve funding for the Royals and the Chiefs? On the flip side, will the House finalize funding for the infrastructure that the Senate passed and that the House now needs to take up, or at least the Senate wants the House to take up? If both of those things can get done by Friday, I don't want to say it would be a miracle, but it would be impressive. And if it gets done, it will be because of Governor Mike Kehoe. Because he will have goodwill. He will have the juice being in year number 1 of his first term. And he will be able to twist the right arms and get the respect of the right people to basically say, let's get both of these things done and get them done now. And drop all the petty, nonsensical political infighting in the Republican Party, because that's where this is at right now. 913-408-7957. That is our text line and our studio line on KCMO Talk Radio. It is 6:15 as we get it rolling here. We'll have much more on this reporting as well coming up throughout the morning. Scott Fawn at 9 o'clock. Roy Blunt's going to be here for the first time in a few years. Next hour after the passing of Kit Bond. So Roy Blunt will be on the show at 7:35 this morning. Do not miss that on KCMO Talk Radio. Coming up, how did the media react to the biggest news of the day yesterday? It's a gem. We'll share it with you coming up.
U.S. inflation slowing, I should say, to its lowest rate in more than 4 years. That, according to April's Consumer Price Index report. It's an unexpected and very welcome development that's defying economists' expectations amid President Trump's ongoing trade war. Let's go live right now to CNN business and politics correspondent Vanessa Yurkevich, who's watching all of this in New York. Vanessa, walk us through this morning's report. Where do things stand?
Encouraging signs, Wolf. Inflation continuing to move in the right direction, cooling on an annual basis to 2.3%.
Oh, man, you think Wolf Blitzer normally looks constipated. You should have seen his face yesterday reporting the inflation number. Man, that was a gem. Good morning, 621, as we get it going here on KCMO Talk Radio. That report from CNN, shocking the experts, bucking expectations. How many times is the media going to have to lean into that phrase when they talk about Trump or anything that is seen as positive for Trump before they start realizing that they look like a horse's butt? Time and time again, shocking the experts, shocking the insiders, stunning expectations that Donald Trump and this economy have not sunken already into some kind of a deep recession is somewhat upsetting to them and also shocking to them and them only. As Trump said a month ago, don't be a panickin'. That was his line. A made-up word, but I love the word. Don't be a panickin', he said on social media. And I used it yesterday when I shared graphics of the S&P 500, which is now up on the year to date, January 1 to now. The S&P 500 is up. And from 1 year ago, May 14th to today, the S&P 500 is up about 12.2%. So that doesn't mean the markets won't go down again if a trade deal with China is not reached in the next 90 days. But the point is, do not be a panickin'. And the media on the inflation numbers yesterday, which came out, which were the lowest since early 2021, February of 2021. Last time we had inflation this low at about 2.3%, came in below expectations. Here's what NBC News wrote. April inflation report shows prices grew at slowest pace since 2021. They had price growth has cooled, including in key areas like groceries, but, because of course there has to be a but analysts say Trump's evolving trade war has made it harder to get a clear read on the economy. I wish you could see John's reaction on that one.
I'm for free trade. There's all kinds of, it's just like, it's ebbs and flows. It's a constant thing. It's not something you're going to get your finger on until it's a done deal.
Well, we've never done something like this, right? So
unprecedented.
I don't know how it's going to work. None of us do. We know what Trump's beliefs are on the issues. We know that he is going for a 100-year reset of the economy, not just a quarter-to-quarter strategy, which is what the country's done for too long. So I love how, basically even NBC reports good news here, but then their caveat is analysts say it's harder to get a clear read on the economy. Okay, guys. All right. I mean, if that's the best you got, it's kind of pathetic.
I'm going to take advice from the guy whose net worth plummets when he serves as leader of the nation. Plummets, I use the phrase, it goes down. He takes a pay or he donates his money. That guy has made so much money, I'm wondering if maybe he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, he might have an idea.
Kind of has the idea down.
Certainly more than reporters at NBC. Let's see. Politico headline, Trump tariffs have little impact on prices so far, defying grim forecasts. Inflation climbed at the slowest pace since early 2021, surprising economists who anticipated tariff-related increases. Now, those could be coming next month. That's entirely possible that come the May report, we actually see a slight uptick in inflation. That would not shock me. It may then trend back down come June. Remember, we talked about this 2 weeks ago when the GDP number came out. The GDP number came in negative. But when you actually dug into the details of that GDP number, what did we find out? We found out that a lot of that was driven because people front-loaded trade in the first quarter. And trade is a part of the GDP calculation. So they front-loaded a lot of the goods that they needed from overseas because they wanted to avoid tariffs. So that made the GDP number look worse. But what it might do now in the second quarter is make the GDP number actually look better than it probably realistically is because people front-loaded a lot of their goods. So that's what happened here, at least in the GDP report, and we could be getting more of that as well potentially in these inflation numbers where things might go up in May a little bit more than we expect, then they might come back down in June. I mean, we're in this, and I hate to use the word because it's cliche, but it is unprecedented what we are living through and going through right now.
There you go. All of our inventory is stocked, so we should see an improvement, like you say, in that figure.
We'll see.
Albeit perhaps slightly false or inflated.
Inflation cooled for the third straight month. This is how the Associated Press reports it. Inflation cooled again, even as some tariffs took effect. But economists don't expect that to last. So that's now their new angle. Yeah, this number was pretty good, but the experts say it's not sustainable. The experts suggest, the experts don't believe that this will continue on into May. Okay, well, you're saying the experts are wrong, but next time they'll definitely be right. All right? That's basically your explanation here. The experts are wrong, but just wait till next time. You just wait. They're definitely going to be right on the next one. Don't you worry, experts say. Experts are shocked by this report, but suggest this report cannot hold up. Okay. All right. Let's see what happens there, guys. Thanks so much. I appreciate your input. I appreciate the insight. And let's rock and roll. Let's see how it plays out. Coming up on KCMO, we got the news here in 2 minutes. But after that, Donald Trump just landed in Qatar. And I got a lot of people texting me and reaching out yesterday regarding how Trump was handling himself on this Middle East overseas trip. What might be going on here? We'll explain next on KCMO. So Trump just landing in Qatar this morning. Of course, it's middle of the day there on the other side of the world. And this comes after Trump yesterday found himself speaking to the Saudis. If you didn't see the clip, there's no point in me playing it for you. But Trump, ahead of his big speech to the Saudis yesterday, walks out to Lee Greenwood's God Bless America and plays the entire song. And the Saudis were loving it. They had their cell phones out and the whole thing. It was quite a scene. And he didn't just play like the first verse and then start his speech. Trump stood there on stage with Lee Greenwood blasting and the Saudis just having to watch the whole thing as he's kind of bopping his head along with the song.
That was happening during Kevin Keatsman's show, and I didn't have the audio on. I just had the TV on. I'm like, what is he doing just standing there? So I turned the audio on so I could hear it in the producer room, and I'm like, oh, he's just listening to some Lee Greenwood.
There's Lee.
I believe your wife, Kate, shares my opinion. I'm sure that droned on quite a bit of time there. It's a slow song.
She hates the song. Meantime, I stand there. I put my right hand over my heart,
right?
And I stop. And, I was in a meeting yesterday, so I missed this while it was unfolding in real time. But I was jealous that you guys got to watch it on the show.
Yeah, I was driving with my headlights on.
So my phone was going a little crazy as I was in this meeting yesterday and, Trump's meeting with the Saudis and the whole deal. But there may be, and I actually think there is something going on here that Trump's trying to tap into. First off, he gave a speech to the Saudis, and he basically took a blowtorch to what you would call neocons and interventionists while speaking to the Saudis. And I want to play some of that speech from yesterday in Saudi Arabia. Here's what the President of the United States had to say.
And it's crucial for the wider world to note this great transformation has not come from Western interventionists or flying people in beautiful planes giving you lectures on how to live and how to govern your own affairs. No, the gleaming marvels of Riyadh and Abu Dhabi were not created by the so-called nation builders, neocons, or liberal nonprofits like those who spent trillions and trillions of dollars failing to develop Kabul, Baghdad, so many other cities. Instead, the birth of a modern Middle East has been brought by the people of the region themselves, the people that are right here, the people that have lived here all their lives, developing your own sovereign countries, pursuing your own unique visions and charting your own destinies. And
that was the president yesterday giving this speech in Saudi Arabia. It was called the Saudi U.S. Investment Forum 2025. And we've lived through it, obviously, the, as he called it, nation builders who wrecked far more nations than they built. The interventionalists who were intervening in complex societies that they did not even understand themselves. And this is not to praise the Saudis. We know that there are plenty of bad actors in that part of the world. That is indisputable. But for Trump, there's two things going on here. First, obviously, Trump's America First vision is not about spending billions of dollars to try to build up Baghdad in the eyes of what we would consider, a civilized society. That is a waste of time. That is a waste of, frankly, our efforts, our young men and women in the military. It's not necessary, and we tried it over the last couple of decades, and most people would consider it a massive and utter failure. Is there value in having relationships and having close eyes on this part of the world where there are plenty of bad actors who, frankly, want to do a lot of damage to us here in the United States? No doubt about it. That is indisputable, right? But that is completely different than being an interventionalist. That is completely different from going down the road of trying to nation build. And that's what Trump was trying to get across yesterday. Now, why was he doing this? Why was he, in some ways, waxing poetic to the Saudis? Well, first off, he got $600 billion in pledges over the next 40 years from the Saudis in this trip yesterday. He now is in Qatar. And if you listen to what Kevin O'Leary, Mr. Wonderful, had to say yesterday on Fox News, he alluded to the fact that it's not just about the short term. It's not just about the investment now. It's also about trying to keep these countries away from China, because China is the ultimate bad actor on the world stage that we need to keep in check. Here is what Kevin O'Leary had to say on Outnumbered yesterday with our good friend Harris Faulkner.
Really, what's going on with this trip are two things. One is China. He doesn't want China to develop a relationship in what I call the Middle East circle of friendship, and that is Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the United Arab Emirates. And then you ask yourself, why are all these AI guys with him? What's with that? And I'll tell you what it's about. At the end of this week, he has a meeting in Abu Dhabi. And what's happened in the last 2 years, maybe it's taken 3, but U.S. is number 1 in AI development and spending. Number 2 is China. Number 3 now, and very advanced in certain verticals, is the United Arab Emirates. They are so far ahead in many different verticals. And he wants to see that cooperation on AI be removed from the China model, because remember there was talk about the UAE starting to talk to China about AI. He doesn't want any of that. He wants these companies to form very strong bonds in AI, and when we get later this week to the UAE, that's what you're going to hear about. This is crucial. So China and AI, and of course all this money talk's fantastic, But we're in an economic war with China, and he is cutting them off at the pass in the fastest growing region on earth, the Middle East.
That was Kevin O'Leary, Mr. Wonderful, yesterday with our friend Harris Faulkner on Fox News. And if that's actually what's going on, and I don't know, I can't confirm if that's Mr. Wonderful's opinion or if that's his reporting, and obviously knowing people well in Trump world, I hope that's the case, then this is the strategy that makes all the sense in the world. Everything that Trump is doing on the world stage is about making sure China does not become the global power and the global leader that Xi desperately wants them to become. And that is a win, not just for the world, but especially us here in the United States. That's exactly the goal here. And if mushing up the Saudis for a couple of days helps get us to that goal, that's a win. Now, if you hate Trump, you're going to believe that he's just kissing the Saudis' butt. He's got some backroom deal. He's getting jets from Qatar. And this is all about enriching himself and his family. And no one's going to convince you otherwise. I understand that. Like, listen, there are some people you're not going to convince. But when you look at Trump 1.0, and now you look at the start of Trump 2.0, there are a lot of things that he has done that he didn't have to do that have been pretty big risk, i.e. tariffs. But everything has been about making sure that America stays the global superpower for the next 100 years. That's been the goal on a lot of these things that have not necessarily been beneficial to him when it comes to approval ratings, when it comes to popularity, when it comes to, helping a Republican get elected in 2028. There have been some high-risk things he's tried to do here in these first 120 days. But it all has been with the same goal in mind, keeping us as the global superpower and keeping China at bay. And if this is part of that strategy in the Middle East, then certainly I'm all in. And I got to imagine most Americans with that perspective would be all in as well, John.
Makes absolute sense. I was getting a little confused, all this talk of AI in the UAE. It's like, it reminds me of when I was a kid and my parents were SPELLING-ing everything. So I wouldn't get it here. Like,
what did I do with that? I did something like that last night with Kate. You know what it was?
Yeah.
So I got home, 4 o'clock, 3:30, 4 o'clock, and I guess Charlotte, our 1-year-old, hadn't had a snack yet. So I said, I'll give her a snack. But then Chloe, our middle one, is sitting on the couch. And I said to Kate, because I knew Chloe didn't need a snack, I said, what should I give her? And I start spelling out pirate's booty. And I start going B-O-O-T. And I'm like, wait, I'm spelling out booty. That's probably not what I should be doing. So then I start spelling out pirate's booty. And I'm like, this is too long of a word to spell out. But she was like, yeah, just give her some of that. But I was spelling out the word, so Chloe didn't hear me say pirate's booty, because then she would have been like, I want some. And then she would not have eaten dinner. So
at this age of LGBTQIA plus and AI in the UAE, it's like, we're all adults. You can say it.
Yeah. It's hard to keep the acronym straight these days, is it not? Oh, coming up on KCMO. But there will become a time, like Mark probably can't do that because his girls are old enough that they can spell now.
For the most part, the youngest one still can't.
Well, yeah, she's 1.5 or whatever, right?
Yeah, we spell a few things around her.
Yes, exactly. But you can't get away with it to trick the other two because they're spelling.
Yeah, exactly.
They know what's going on. Do you guys see this? Trump just landed in Qatar here in the last hour. He, of course, was addressing the Saudis yesterday. Do you see Saudi Arabia rolled out a mobile and operational McDonald's for Trump to use during his visit to the nation?
I saw that.
Oh, man.
That was classy.
Hey, they know the way to the man's heart. Listen, guys are so easy, all right? We really are. It's like we got that one food, that one brand that we like, that we love. It's just we're so simple to please. We think we're so complex, and we're really not at all. It's like Trump saw the McDonald's. He was probably on cloud. I love these guys are great. I'm sure it was something like that.
Lee Greenwood and McDonald's. What more you can ask for?
Nothing more Americana than a little Lee Greenwood and a little Mickey D's. Okay, I mean,
I'm not worth your McDonald's money.
Come on, get that man his Big Mac and Diet Coke. A mobile McDonald's right outside of Trump HQ in Saudi Arabia. What a scene that was yesterday. Man, if I told you that was going to happen 10 years ago, you would have called me nuts. But here we are. 10 years later. Good morning. Glad you're here on KCMO Talk Radio. Roy Blunt will be here in 10 minutes. Roy Blunt, of course, longtime U.S. Senator. He retired, I guess it was January of 23. We have not talked to him since he left office, and he is going to join us to talk about Kit Bond, who passed away, former Missouri governor and senator, passing away yesterday at the age of 86. Of course, Missouri through and through. Got the bridge right here in town named after him. So Kit Bond dying yesterday at 86. And Roy Blunt will talk about his legacy and his history in Missouri in 10 minutes on KCMO. I love playing this guy. So he's a whack job, but he's entertaining. And once in a while, he's got some common sense. And that is James Carville. Longtime Democratic strategist. Of course, he is the guy who highlighted and basically his claim to fame is Bill Clinton's campaign. And he really hasn't, I don't know, he's kind of been living off of that for 30 years, but he's an entertainer now as much as anything else, right? He's entertaining. He's got that Cajun accent. He can be a little or very bombastic, full of hot air. You got to have a little bit of that doing this. And at this point, he's just a guy who also will once in a while call out his own side. Just like he did yesterday when he was talking about language. No, not naughty words, not potty words, not words that Mark has to dump on the air. Although, did you bleep them out here, Mark? Did you clean up this audio file for me? There was only one F-bomb.
Yeah, as long as there's only the one.
There was actually a couple F-bombs, but I was able to edit those out this morning at about 5 a.m. So if somebody was walking by my office, they would have heard James Carville dropping F-bombs left and right. But I cut some of those out. I left one bleep in there for you to clean up. Because having the bleeps in does give it a little more juice, you know?
Oh, yeah, it's fun.
But there were just too many, so I was like, let me help Mark here, help himself. So here's James Carville talking about how his own party, Democratic Party, can do better in just like normal people speak. Here's what he said.
Don't use the word equity, use equality to your little heart's desire. People basically don't know what it means, and if they do know what it means, it looks like you're trying to force an outcome. This is another really stupid word, oligarch. What the f*** knows what an oligarch is? I wouldn't even use the LBGQT plus or whatever it is. I just call people gay, a lesbian, or trans, or I don't know. There's nothing. It's just the way you are. But you don't need to come up with other words for things. Just use the word that is most commonly used among people as they talk to each other. I had a friend from high school. He's gay. She's a lesbian. Fine. Okay, no, who cares? If you say, well, it's LBGTQ, but I don't know what they're talking about. And you're trying to signal that there's something wrong with the term, or you're just trying to show people how smart you are. So don't use words like that. Don't use words like intersectionality. God, I was listening to, during the pandemic, I was listening to NPR, and they had this panel discussion like they're doing. They talk about intersectionality. I literally thought they would kind of go overboard in ecstasy on the radio. And okay, it's a real thing. No one uses the term intersectionality except for NPR.
That's right. He's right. Outside of that crap down the dial, nobody uses that word, intersectionality. When are we defunding them, by the way? When's that happening? I mean, shouldn't they be going on some all-in koozie drive right now and pin drive so the government can, get rid of the funding for National Panhandler Radio? That is so long overdue. I mean, gee, man, when's that going to happen? But anyway, James Carville's right there. And he's right, too, on the whole, LG, what did he call it? LGBTQ. He, messed up the letters. I know. It's getting long, man. I understand. We're running out of letters in the alphabet soon. We're going to be using the Greek alphabet before long here. Jeez. But he's right. It's just hey, gay, trans, whatever, you are what you are. Okay? Leaving all, your thoughts on that aside, putting this stuff all together as one big alphabet soup, it's not how normal people talk to each other. And that is the biggest problem. Listen, Republicans have their own problems, but the biggest problem they've got right now is basically they talk to each other. The Democratic Party talks to each other like they're all PhDs at Yale. And that's not where the average American is in the way they talk to each other. They don't know how to speak to the average American.
Oh, yeah. No, I enjoy it. It's commie code. They give themselves away with all this stuff. You need a seat at the table. Like, this is America. You own the table. You own the seats that you want to sit in. You own the building, and you're not at the meeting because you're out doing stuff. Yeah. That's America. So this commie code, they just give themselves away.
Oh, they do. They do. I mean, that's if they could just learn how to find people who know how to talk to regular folks. It's one of the more underappreciated parts of Trump. Yeah, he's a billionaire. Yeah, he's from New York City. But, man, he knows how to talk to regular people. He connects with regular people. And you can mock him all you want about his background in New York and billionaire and businessman. But, man, it's worked. And he's got a couple of wins to prove it and back it up. We got some breaking news this morning. If you love avoiding family on the holidays, well, the Chiefs are just a godsend for you. The Chiefs will be playing now on Thanksgiving Day against the Dallas Cowboys in what I've got to imagine could end up being one of the highest-rated regular season NFL games of all time. Thursday, November 27th, 4:30 Eastern Time. That's going to be on CBS. Usually that Cowboys Thanksgiving game is a Fox game, but it will be a CBS game. Chiefs, Cowboys, Thanksgiving. So we've got 3 games that we know are confirmed for the Chiefs. The schedule is going to be rolled out tonight. That'll be on NFL Network. But week 1, the Chiefs are in Brazil to take on the Chargers. That'll be streaming for free on YouTube. Week 13, which is Thanksgiving Day, will be Chiefs at Cowboys on CBS. And then week 17, Chiefs host the Broncos Christmas night, 7:15 on Amazon Prime. So that right there, I mean, we got Fridays, we've got Thursdays, we've got holidays. I mean, if you don't want to deal with your woke Uncle Jerry, who's got a major case of TDS, the Chiefs are bailing you out this holiday season, so there you go.
We need to look for road trips in the hurricane zone here for any delay for that Tuesday game.
Yes. We still need a Tuesday game. You're right about that. So, and Travis Kelce confirmed the game in Brazil on the New Heights podcast that just dropped in. Here's what he had to say.
The other big rumor, I should say, is that the Chiefs are going to be opening their season against the Chargers in Brazil.
Yeah, this was posted by Yahoo Sports.
Is that official?
It came from Eric Fisher, Front Office Sports. So Yahoo Sports posted this from Front Office Sports, which is
even more official. Front office, that's an official position.
The NFL is closing in on an agreement. So it is just that. It's a rumor.
Well, it says the Chargers will host the Chiefs in Sao Paulo in Brazil week 1.
This doesn't come out till Wednesday?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're definitely playing in Brazil.
Yeah.
I also heard those rumors.
So I can skip this next question. Travis, do you know anything? All right. Should we take New Heights overseas?
I mean, I'll be there. Not to do a podcast. Yeah, I'll be there playing
pretty
football.
Busy.
Yeah, so Travis Kelce confirming that on his podcast, the New Heights podcast with Jason Kelce. So there you go. Week 1, they'll be in Brazil. And that is a Chargers home game, technically. So the Chiefs are not losing a home game over this game in Brazil, which is Friday night, September the 5th. Streaming for free on YouTube. I hope YouTube's up for it, man, because the last thing I need is a glitch. Mahomes to the end zone. What happened?
Yeah, you know what? And thanks for that, said high school football all across the nation, too.
I know.
Come on.
I know.
NFL on Friday.
Hey, they're all getting and listen, it's America, it's capitalism, but I listen, to me, high school football's on Friday, college football's on Saturday, the NFL's on Sunday.
Should be.
But
Sunday or Monday.
Yes.
Or Tuesday.
Or any other day of the week,
right.
apparently.
Yeah, just not Friday night.
But college football started doing this, too, the last few years. I mean, the Big 12, K-State played a game on Friday a couple of years back against Oklahoma State. And I'm like, man, these high school kids in Kansas that have their night of the week, now they got to compete with K-State. Now they got to compete.
The fans. People would go to both, but they can't.
Know,
right?
You can't.
Yeah.
You can't. You're going to hurt the high school game. And the NFL doesn't care. Let's be honest.
Well, they will in 20 years when nobody can throw.
Well, they might. You're right about that. They might. But they don't care because YouTube's cutting them a massive check. So they are chasing that almighty dollar. That's what they're doing here.
And we should still get it on local TV here if you don't want to stream it, I would assume.
Yeah. The same people that don't want to they want hard tickets. They don't want tickets on their phones. That crowd, they'll still be able to watch it.
Here I am.
I wasn't calling you out personally, John, but
no,
if you want
sir, but I like hard tickets, and I'm going to watch it on local broadcast.
And I know you're not alone.
I was just thinking I could go to a high school game and kind of watch the Chiefs on my phone on the side on that game.
Well, that'll be going on for sure.
You could definitely do that. You're right about that, Mark. That's definitely something that I'm sure a lot of people will do on that Week 1 game against the Chargers. You're right. So, listen, when you're the biggest show in town, and that's what the Kansas City Chiefs are, you're going to get a lot of these games on these holidays. And while we might be upset with that right now, it beats having every game on Sunday at noon when nobody cares about you because you're going 2-15 every year. So we'll take it. 8:21, good morning. Glad you're here on KCMO. Jeff Collier just announcing exclusively on KCMO Talk Radio that he is running for governor of Kansas in 2026. That field will be getting pretty crowded here in the months to come. So on the other side of our state line, well, we found out yesterday that the Missouri House had passed stadium funding plans, and that this would give the Chiefs and the Royals the opportunity to split up to $50 million for stadium renovations or stadium builds. Obviously, Missouri wants the Chiefs to stay at Arrowhead, and they want the Royals to build the new stadium. They prefer the Northland. I know that on good authority. They prefer they go up to Northland, but the bill does not require the Royals to go up north. They could use the monies for a downtown Kansas City, Missouri ballpark. But what happened yesterday is it didn't pass the Senate. It didn't even go to a vote in the Senate last night. The Missouri Senate is not having what the Missouri House is selling. And it's got nothing to do with stadium funding. It's got to do with what's going on behind the scenes on a $500 million infrastructure package that the Missouri House is not willing to take up right now, that the Missouri Senate has passed. And Missouri senators are saying, wait, the House wants us to basically spend hundreds of millions of dollars on stadiums for pro sports teams, but you can't get me a crime lab in Poplar Bluff? So the Senate last night basically didn't take up the bill. They just let it sit. They've got until Friday to pass this thing. And if they don't do it by Friday, it's not going to happen. You're going to have to wait till next year. Everything has to be done by Friday at 6 p.m. So if the House passes what's called House Bill 19, this $500 million infrastructure plan, then the Senate may in turn go ahead and say, okay, you want this money for the Chiefs and the Royals? So be it. That's fine. But unless the House does that, this Chiefs-Royals money isn't going anywhere. So you're seeing these headlines around town. Missouri House passes stadium funding amendment. Well, yeah, but it's not law. Governor Kehoe wants it done, but it's not law right now. This thing, and frankly, it's 50-50 whether or not it even gets done, John.
Yeah, if we had civics taught, we'd understand, hey, the House passed, it's still got to go to the Senate.
I know.
Right?
But people just see the headline
part of it.
And they're like, oh, yeah, we're getting money.
I thought that thing passed.
Yeah, it's not how it works.
Well, part of it.
Our audience gets it, I am sure.
Indeed, and you're charged with spreading the word.
Yes, but we just got to get the message out there that this thing still has a ways to go. There's an interesting caveat in this bill as well, that basically you've got to have 30,000 seats in your stadium to take advantage of this funding. And what it basically does is it kicks back sales tax revenues from the stadium itself to the teams. It's not a star bond district where you make up some goofy district and, you kick back excess sales tax revenues to pay off the bonds. It's just for the stadiums itself. The reality is, from people I've talked to who have crunched the numbers, you can't get to this $50 million split for the Chiefs and the Royals. You just can't get there on just the sales tax revenues. There was some thought in people I was talking to yesterday that it may include taxes on the players' incomes when they're playing their games. But either way, you're not going to get to that $50 million, basically $20 to $25 million per team. So there will be a direct state subsidy involved here. But the 30,000 stadium seat limit means the Cardinals in St. Louis could take advantage of this at some point if they want to do stadium upgrades or a new stadium or something. And it leaves out the Blues. They were not going to do this for a hockey team. They left out the Blues. That's why they put a 30,000 seat minimum into the bill. The other important part of this bill is that there's a clawback provision that says if either of these teams leave Missouri before all the debt is paid off, courtesy of the taxpayer, the teams have to pay everything back. So basically, they've got these teams by the short hairs for as long as the debt is out there, which is, that seems more than fair. We're not going to do this song and dance again in 10 or 15 years if this bill passes, where the teams are like, I don't know, we might go out to Kansas. I'm not quite sure. It's like, no. Money's not paid off on the bonds, so you're not going anywhere, and you know it, and we know it. We're not going to do this again. Now, what I also can share with you here is that the Chiefs want a November election in Jackson County. They want to be on the ballot in November. So theoretically, they could get the state monies, and then they could also get sales tax revenue from Jackson County. And they want to be on the ballot in November. That is a smart play. Middle of NFL season, Chiefs are, expected to have a very good year once again. We all know what the expectations are. Frankly, it's Super Bowl or bust for this team. And you're telling me that, let's say we don't know what the schedule is going to look like. We'll find out tonight. It'll be interesting what that game is before Tuesday election day. You get a big win over the Raiders or something. Let's run to the polls. Woo! New stadium or upgrade Arrowhead. Let's go. It's like,
hopefully not a bye.
Yeah. Or a bye might give Mahomes time to go, rub some elbows and shake some hands and say, vote for the stadium upgrades. But you get the point. Middle of the football season can be, I believe, a pretty smart play here. And the Chiefs want to be on the ballot in November. Now, the question is, will they be on the ballot with the Royals? That remains to be seen on what the Royals are going to do. But this will all come to a head over the next few weeks because the Star Bond offer ends at the end of June. Kansas could extend it for a year. If Missouri drops the ball here over the next 2 days, Kansas could extend it themselves and just say, sure, we'll give you another year. But I don't have any indication that's going to happen. But the Chiefs want to be on the ballot in November in Jackson County. The question is, do the Royals have any idea what they're going to do by then? Because that obviously is a major part of figuring out this puzzle. Who do you think would be the group that would be most likely to break up with friends over politics? Give that one just a quick thought. Mark, you got a thought there on who that might be? The group of people, the subset that might be most likely to say, I'm losing a friend and willing to lose a friend over politics?
Probably not the Libertarians.
No, not the Libertarians. They're pretty chill. They're pretty laid back.
The Democrats?
Yes. Which subset of Democrats?
The far left Democrats?
Yes. You're getting closer.
Communist Democrats?
I'd use the word woke over commie, but,
okay.
That probably works as well. Here's what we've got. All right? This comes from The Spectator. It was a pollster Signal that did this. And as the poll shows, 1,500 likely voters, 3% margin of error. It's a legitimate pollster group. It's not some made-up organization. What you've got is a situation here where college-educated women are the most likely cohort to say that they have differences in political opinion. And it has led to broken friendships and relationships at a more than 40-point rate, 67 to 24. The individuals who are the wokest of the woke, who really are the backbone of the Democratic Party, are those who are most likely to break up longtime friendships over politics. That should not surprise you in the least. It also happens to be the group that insists they are the most tolerant. They are the most accepting. But when push comes to shove, they're not. They're the ones who are more than willing to say, you know what? Forget it. I'll throw away a friendship for politics. Now, what are the numbers when it comes to just political breakdown? All right, leave out gender. Just have Democrats versus Republicans. Look at this. Self-identified liberals, say they have a hard time coexisting and playing nice with someone who voted differently than they did by 30 points. 2-1 margin, 61% common, 31% not common. On the other side, conservatives are much more even-keeled. 49% say they lost friendships over 2024, and that is common. But 45% say it's not common. So basically with conservatives, it's split 50-50. 50% of people saying that they did lose friendships and that's common over the 2024 election. 45% saying it's not common. Democrats 2-1 saying it's common that they lost friends over the election. 31% saying it's not common. So you tell me, who is the party of tolerance around here? Who are the voters? Who are the individuals who are actually more accepting of others? It's not the ones who preach acceptance. It's not the ones who preach tolerance. It's not the ones who are the loudest and the most, frankly, obnoxious and in your face about their tolerance and acceptance. Because it's all a ruse. It's all for show. And that is one thing that Donald Trump has brought out in these people more than anybody in modern American political history. Their hypocrisy. Now, listen, every politician, every political party has some hypocrisy in it. I don't deny that for a second. No political party is perfect. But Donald Trump has been brilliantly able to put these people into a box that showcases their hypocrisy on a somewhat regular basis. And polling like this is just another example of that in real time. I mean, I'm looking at it here. I'll share the article on my Facebook and X page. You can see it there for yourself. And you can see that, those who wave their Ukraine flags and in this house, we believe signs in their front yards, they don't believe any of that. They don't. They never have. And frankly, they never will. And now the backbone of the Democratic Party is actually the least tolerant group when it comes to other thoughts, ideologies, and political opinions. And that turns out to be college-educated women. That's just crazy.